let's talk about something that we've already talked about. It's also very important in business, what we call small talking, socializing in English, the typical coffee break style conversations. You're at the company, you have a visitor, or you're maybe at a conference, you're at a party. So there are different scenarios where socializing is important. You do this well in your native language usually, but in a foreign language, it's challenging because you need those typical expressions that you can handle in your language well, but you need to train in English. Now I'm going to focus on why small talk or socializing in English is important for business relations. Really, in business, trust is the most important thing. And you can build trust, of course, through delivering quality services, quality products, quality customer care, etc. But before that comes just the first impressions. I have clients and I have students who say, oh, they feel good in the meeting room. They know how to talk about their company. They can do their presentations easily or relatively easily. But when it comes to the coffee break, they start to get nervous. They don't know how to chat in a casual way, usually about sport or traveling and food, hobbies, it's these general topics. What can I do? I don't want to speak a lot. So what I do is I ask questions, but we don't want to do that. I mean, we don't want to do that only because asking questions only will convert the whole conversation into kind of like an interview. Okay, so we don't want that. I've seen students who get really frustrated with this and, they lose self-confidence and stuff. So it's really important to work on this. Let me give you a tip. Okay, this is one tip that can help you to handle these situations easier. And my tip is very simple. In small talk, learn to be a listener more than a speaker. But what does it mean to be a listener? Like, everybody can just not speak and that converts you into a listener, right? No, because a listener in a conversation should be an active listener. In other words, a listener who is paying attention to what the other person is saying and in some way reacts to that, responds to that, and builds new questions based on that information. I like to call this prompting listening. Here, a prompting listener would be a listener who triggers something in the other person that will make them speak and speak more. Of course, at some point, you, as the listener, will also need to share some information, but this kind of takes off the weight, and it just helps you to stay in a more listener position. So for me, a prompting listener is a listener who participates actively but doesn't say a lot. Instead, it is your speaking partner who speaks more. The funny thing is that the result is that the conversation still feels balanced. Your speaking partner is not going to feel like, oh, it's been me who's been speaking all the time. They kind of feel like there was a balance between speaking and listening, and there was interest, and the conversation flows, okay? Here are 3 things you should do as a prompting listener. 1, ask questions. Now, this is what everybody does. We like to ask questions, but the problem is, if you only ask questions, and if you're just asking question after question, you end up sounding like a journalist in an interview. So you need other tools, complementary tools as well. Filler words, right? Like, wow, really, nice. These little words that we all use in our native languages, but in a foreign language, it's kind of hard to pick these up unless you live in the country where the language is spoken and you just pick it up. But you don't have to live in a native speaking country in order to pick these or build these elements into your conversations. You just need training for that. And the first thing I recommend is that you just observe how you do it in your own language, in your first language. When you're chatting with friends next time in your first language, just observe how many of these little elements you use in your language. You will be surprised, probably. This will just, again, open your eyes to, wow, if I do this in my language, in English, native speakers do it. And yes, they do. And the more you can manage these, the better you will sound, the more natural you will sound. Okay, so that's the second tip. And the third thing is you will need some echo type questions. What are echo type questions? These are kind of unreal questions. Unreal means they're not really questions about some information that you don't know. They are simply like they repeat a part of the information that the speaker has just said. For example, the speaker says, I went to London this weekend. To London. Or for a weekend. And if you do that, your speaking partner will naturally continue. You don't need to do more, probably. You could just say, for the weekend. And it's a question which is not a real question because you know the information. You just say, for a weekend, and the speaker is going to perceive this as interest. And they will just continue giving you more information. And of course, you need to mix these tools to give more speaking time to your speaking partner and more listening time for you. More listening time for you, less stress. Less stress for you, you have a more enjoyable conversation opportunity. A more enjoyable conversation will make you feel more confident. And if you feel more confident, then, well, everything is going to flow better and your image that you project will also be better. And it's good for your business. So small talking the right way can really improve that impression and can help you build, valuable business relationships. All right, so much about what I call being a prompting listener instead of a passive listener. And remember, confidence. It really helps building confidence. And just give yourself time. Of course, you want to improve as fast as you can, but you have to accept that these building in these new elements takes a little time. And I have a short video where I give you some examples and show you how these repeated questions, the unreal questions and the empty words work. If you go to my blog page, if you go to CREATENGLISH.com, you go to blog and you look for this article, Build Confidence in English with Coffee Breaks Conversations, and you will find the video link here. Build Confidence in English with Coffee Break Style Conversations.